All right, so today we're going to record and look at the second part for figure 976, which is called a yoke. And the yoke is a larger piece, takes a pretty big piece of the design, a lot more dimensions. This yoke is also going to be the piece that the bushing rests in. Okay, so this is our main piece. And going to need to take a look at a sketch, look at some of your dimensions ahead of time, make sure you understand where everything is going to go. There are two slots that are on the end pieces or the legs, and you'll want to do some calculations early on to make sure that you know how large those are and where they're located. Okay, so as I look at this piece, I'm trying to build this in as few sketches as possible. Right now we're looking at probably 3 sketches to make this. I like the front view a lot, 90-degree angles boxed out. So I'll go ahead and create a sketch. And I'll select my front view here, which is the green-red plane. And we'd like to try to center this around 0, 0, 0 if we can. That'd be good for us if possible. So maybe we'll do some dimensions to make that happen. All right, so we can go ahead and just draw out what we think it looks like. We don't have to worry about dimensions too much just yet. If you do know some of the dimensions as you're going along, you can certainly add them in, but you don't have to right now. Okay, we'll figure that out as we're working along here. So up and then not worried about the small cylinder that rests on the top. I'm just not there yet. So I'm just worried about this U-shaped piece right now, getting the right dimensions and then extruding at the correct thickness. So let's go ahead and add some dimensions. Okay, now when I do this dimension, notice that it flipped the part up into the air and actually makes it disoriented. I'm going to undo on that dimension really fast. And I'd like to set the dimension of the overall height first before I put that or update that small dimension, because there's clearly going to be some issues there. So again, this is one of those dimensions you have to do a little bit of math on. I'm looking at 3.37. Okay. I double check the math at 2.25. And then another 1.12. So it looks pretty good. Now I have this huge, massive block, and then I can go ahead and change that to the 2.25. The other dimension that I need to take a look at is the overall length. Be another one to look at here. So 6.75 is the 6.75. Not too bad. Okay. Again, if we could get this as close as possible to centered, that would be great. And as I'm looking at this, I just realized that 3.37 is not the correct dimension. It is, we're going to have to do a little math here. So it's, we have to subtract a little bit off of that number. So 2.25 plus 1.12, and then minus 0.38. 2.99, so I'm guessing that'd be probably 3 inches then. All right, so we'll make that 3. That looks a little better. Okay, again, with this part being 6.75, if we wanted this to be in the center, all right, we want to try to locate this as close as possible to 0, 0. All right, what I could do is say from the center point to this outside edge, and I could say 6.75 divided by 2. It works pretty well. I could also say from the top to the bottom, and we know that that's 3, but I could say, 3.00 divided by 2, or, some pretty simple math, 1.50. So this part is now centered very nicely for us. I'm going to just clean up some of my dimensions here so we can read them a little bit easier. All right, and that's it. That's our part for right now. Double check all your dimensions. Stop sketch. And I hit my little home button. And this is just it's a two-dimensional plane. And we want to make this three-dimensional. And the thickness is 3.12. So I can extrude this and I can say 3.12. And again, I could have it go forward. I could drag it 3.12 backwards. There's also some options here for one-sided, two-sided, symmetrical, depending on how detailed you want to be, but that should be fine. Next piece I want to put in is there's a small cylinder that rests on the top of this. All right, so I'll go ahead and it's a circle. So I'm going to use a center diameter circle. So first I'll create a sketch, and I want to put that sketch on the top of the yoke, and then circle, center diameter circle. Now we know it's going to be right along this green line. Okay. And looking in the book, I see that it has an outside diameter of 2.38. And I just want to check the spacing dimensions to make sure that this is in the right location. All right, so we're going to just double check a few dimensions. All right. Now my part, maybe I typed in the wrong number, but my part is saying that this is 1.5, and I don't want it to be 1.5. 3.12 divided by 2. There we go. Now, just to be safe, I'm going to go from here down to here, and sure enough, 1.56. I'm not going to put this dimension in because it's going to tell me it's over constrained, but that's looking pretty good. All right, so my dimensions were correct. Good thing we double checked. The other dimension is we want to locate from the edge to the center point. So sketch dimension. And that says 3.375. Our part is 6.75, and it's located in the center, right? That's pretty good there. There's also a dimension that says 2.62 that helps you locate the center point. That would be fine too if you had that laid out the right way. So looks good. Now the height of this, it says that it is 0.38. When you're looking at the drawing for the assignment, you'll notice that there's a 0.5 dimension, and there's also a 0.38 dimension. The 0.5 dimension is our bushing that is already resting inside the yoke. So 0.38 is the dimension I want. So I'm going to select this, 0.38. Looks good. Now, this is not just a straight cylinder. It has a nice curved edge. You can see that in the front view. You can also see it in the side view and the isometric view. It has a radius of 0.3. So in order to put that curved edge along there, we're going to go under Modify, and this is what we call a fillet. Select that little inside edge, and then type in 0.3. Pretty good. Now in the book, it looks like it's a nice fluid, smooth curve. And if you zoom in on ours, we're going to have this little line, this little gap here, but that's the dimensions that they give us. So that's what it's going to look like. All right. And then we need to go ahead and insert a hole that will go all the way through this cylinder and through the base of the part. That hole has to be large enough for the bushing to slide through, and that dimension is going to be 1.38. Again, I could create an extrusion here if I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and do insert hole just so we get some practice with that. So I select the top of the circle. And for extents, I'm going to go all. And just without having to rotate my part, I notice there's a shadow now, and there's a hole that goes right through it. If I took this away and did distance, all right, it still is okay. But if you notice, if you drag it up, that the shadow will actually change, right? So I know without even having to rotate that this hole is going all the way through because the light is casting through the top of the hole and through the bottom. So nice little piece, nice little tool for us to use. Again, the diameter of this hole has to be 1.38. It has to be large enough for the bushing to go through. And notice that my hole is not centered. All right, so over here on the side, I find references, select, and I need to find a way to select that edge if possible. And it's not letting me click on it. Okay, so references. Let's try that one more time. Let's go back into create whole. Maybe something was, we're going to go there. Depth is going to be all. Diameter is 1.38. And then the references, I'd like, there we go. Now it's working. I'm not sure what was up before. All right, but that does locate it right in the middle. If I look down at the top, everything's nice and centered. And I can say, okay. All right, again, that hole goes all the way through. I can see the shadow there, and just to be safe, we can flip it around. We can see the hole goes all the way through. All right. Last thing I want to put in is the slots on the side. So you can select either end that you want. We're going to create one sketch, and that will create both slots. So sketch, and where do we want to place that sketch? Right here on the side. And I have this slot that has rounded edges. Okay. And we have to, a little bit of math here. All right, I'm going to start off, you can kind of go at it a few different ways. We see in the side view that there's some dimensions that tell us the center of the two curved edges of the slot are 1.12 apart. We see a radius of 0.38, and then we see another location dimension of 1.56. Okay, so that will help. All right, obviously we're going to draw it right along this red line. I'm going to go ahead and do circles. And I can start drawing a circle. Now, please note, they give us a radius of 0.38. When I'm drawing a circle, I'm using the diameter. So I need half of that. Half of 0.38 is 0.19. Kind of tiny. Need to rethink that. Did I do my dimensions correctly? Let's try that one more time. Circle, center diameter circle. So the radius is 0.38. Oh, I went the wrong way. I shouldn't have divided. Should have added, right? 0.38 is halfway across. So 0.38 plus 0.38 gives me my diameter, which is 0.776, right? If I do the math. There we go. All right. I have another one of those on the other side. .76. Now the two of these, all right, we have a dimension. If we look on the side view, it tells us that the two of these are 1.12 apart. Now, one of the circles moved closer to the other, but this is clearly not centered right now. So we need to do a little bit of math to figure out where these should be. All right, I went and did that math. So I select this edge, or the center of that, and that edge. And if I say 1 inch, it's much better. All right, looks like it's nice and centered. Zoom in here so we can work a little bit more. I'm going to take a line and draw it across. Take another line and draw it across. Now, they put the constraints in for tangency on this side, but they did not add them on the other side. And I want to make sure that my lines are tangent. So for me, my sketch palette pops up here. Some of you, the constraint palette might be across your top ribbon. I'm just going to go down. I want to find the symbol for tangent right here. I click on it, and I'm just going to say that I would like this circle with this line to be tangent, and again, this circle and this line to be tangent. And now I have 4 tangency points. So I know that that line is intersecting with that circle exactly the way I would like it to. All right, I need to trim off these inside edges of these circles. So I select trim. And there's my slot. All right, I can stop sketch, hit my home button, and you can see that it's drawn here on the right-hand side. I want it to go all the way through. So I'll do an extrusion. I'll select the slot. Now it's pointing in this direction. I would like to have it go that way. It does change to cut. I'd like to change it to all, and it does go all the way through. I can see the preview here in red. It goes all the way through the part, and I can say okay. And then just to test it, we'll turn it and look. Yep, goes through the whole part, nice, all the way through. All right. All right. This drawing is done, or this design is done. Now I'd like to put it into a drawing with dimensions. So we'll go Model, Drawing, from Design. We need to give this a name. Well, Figure 9-76, and this is the yoke. I'll take the defaults that they give me. This is a very large part, so you need to think about the scale. Well, they give it to us on a 1:4 scale. 1:2 is looking a little better. Could I do 1:1? Ooh, not sure if 1:1 is going to fit. That looks very large, so we'll go 1:2. I'll go ahead and put that first view in. Now again, we want to do all of our projected views. Come up here near the top, projected view. I'll click my parent view, place my top view. The top view is directly above the front view. Right side view is directly to the right of the front view. And then we like that isometric view. Hit enter when you're done. The top, front, and side view, we want to leave open like this with the hidden lines. But this isometric view, we can double click on and change that to shaded. Say close. Next thing I'd want to do is put in some center lines. Okay. And the center lines this time are going to be a little bit tricky because we have this open slot. So let's do the best we can. We'll go view by view, put in a center mark for this circle. And just keep working on this view for a second. If I do a center line, if I select 1 and 1, it puts the center line in the middle, but we know that that's not the case. All right. And we have a way to move this. Okay. You can grab that and you can move it up. Okay. Now, where exactly would that be located? We would have to do some dimensioning to figure that out. The yellow exclamation point is fine. Just leave it be. We're breaking a few rules, but we don't have the opportunity here to have a center point based off of this curved slot. So I'll do another one now because we do need 2 center lines. All right. Oh, what happened there? Undo. Scoot. Causing a few problems here for me. Let's see if I can drag this out a little bit to help me grab the edge. I'm going to scooch this up and out of the way for just a second so I can work on this piece. All right. Now let's see if we can work on that a little bit better. There we go. And again, we're just going to kind of fudge it and put it in close. There is a way for repositioning and things like that if you go through some of these windows, but this will be just fine for what we're doing. We are demonstrating that there is a center line. I'd also need the same thing on the other side. All right. Again, I wouldn't necessarily drag this all the way through. It wouldn't look very professional. So I'll leave this side here and we'll go ahead and add 2 more on the other side. Again, I'm going to drag this one off and out of the way just for a second. Go ahead and add 1 more. Now, I would like to get each side lined up. So if I take this one, try to get as close as you can. And again, we're kind of breaking a few rules with what we're doing, but doing the best we can with the tools that we have. All right, and that's pretty close, okay? Bring this one down. And I guess what I could do is I could use this as a guide right now. And then just reduce this one when I'm done. Yeah, we're gonna get all those yellow exclamation points. It's okay. Won't be a big deal. All right, let's go down to the bottom view. And in the bottom view, or front view, excuse me, this one's easy, just 1 and 1, 1 and 1, and 1 and 1. Now, we're not seeing that long, short, long dash line that we would like. So again, click on one of them. And drag that up a little bit, and drag that down a little bit, and then you get the long, short, long line, which is nice. And drag it out. Long, short, long, not too bad. Still didn't quite get there, so let's go longer. There we go. Undo that so I get one less. There we go. Just clean it up so it looks a little bit better. So those are the center lines for that view. And then we head over here, and I have a center line here. Again, we can drag that up just a little bit so we hopefully will get that long, short, long. I want to be careful. I don't want to slice into the slot too much. There we go, long, short, long. Now with this, hopefully with the center mark, if I just click on the edge, and the edge, it only gives me the plus sign. It doesn't give me the extensions, and there's no way to drag those out. So we'll just leave that as is. That's fine. Okay. If anybody does know a better way of doing this, feel free to post in the comments on the YouTube page. Happy to learn and do things the right way. But center line position has been a little bit interesting on Fusion. Okay. Last thing we want to do is put some dimensions in. Again, think about all the dimensions that you would need in the part to fully describe it and fully locate all of the pieces. Because I see the two circles here, I'll make sure that those dimensions go in the top view. With the slot, I will do any dimensions with the slot in the side view because this is the view that describes it the best. And I'll start in the front view here, though, with a few basic dimensions. All right. 0.75. Might drag that over onto this side instead. And then just work my way across. I want to locate the now I just see 6. I don't see that nice 6.00. We've got to think about that again. All right. So we'd like our dimensions to be 2 decimal places. So again, I go down here for the version I'm using, and it says annotation settings, and just click on display trailing zeros. Looks a little better. Okay. All right. Other dimensions I might look at. I can go from here to here. And then I'll give my overall height in this view as well. Now, I also need to give this a little radius. Try that one more time and zoom in. There we go. Okay, looks good. We might be able to put some other dimensions in this front view, but for now we'll just leave it with this. And let's go over to the side view. Everything to do with the slot, let's go ahead and dimension those. So we'll go from the bottom to the center. And also do my overall depth here as well. And then the last one you would need is the arc. Just be careful with where you place the arc. We want to try not to slice through too many different lines and angles. So over here might be your best bet. Okay. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then looking up here in the top view, we want to look at the center line, the circle. Now I did locate the 3.38 here. Maybe that dimension should be in the top view to help locate the circle, because this is the view that we actually see the circle in. Up to you if you want to change that. We also need to locate this center line. And then we have a couple of circles that we need to dimension. So 1 and 1. Notice R for radius and the circle with a slash for diameter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 looks pretty good. What dimensions would we not know if we were looking around this part? Do we know this thickness of this base? We don't see that, so we're going to need to add a dimension possibly for that. We have the thickness of this leg and this leg. Is it uniform all the way around? Do we need to identify that? Might be a question you have to ask. We have our slot centered and located. We have the depth. We have the length. We have the height. We have all the radii. And yeah, so we could go ahead and put in one more dimension if you wanted to, from here to here, just to locate and identify how thick that base is. From there, I might just adjust a few of my dimensions just so I have a little more room here to clearly see everything. Okay. And that would be the end for this drawing. We would put a logo in our title block. We could fill out any other additional pieces with our title block. But figure 976, this is part 2, and this is our yoke. Stay tuned for part 3, and we'll learn how to assemble these two items and create a working drawing.